When did your involvement with Valegro begin?
I got involved with Valegro when he was a 5-year-old, and Carl and I just sold a horse called Supernova to Spencer Wilton, and at that point Carl was riding him as a young horse, and at that point he said, "Would you be interested in buying a half of him?" And of course I'd been watching Valegro and I thought that he was the most amazing young horse. And so I jumped at the opportunity, which he then brought up again about 6 months later. And that's when we had him betted and I actually bought the half.
And Anne, what about you?
My involvement really started after London when I read about him being sold, maybe. Then being syndicated, at which point I contacted Roly and said I would be interested in joining with that.
So you two didn't know each other before?
No. We were entirely brought together really through Horse and Hound magazine.
And your equestrian background? Why dressage?
It's gymkhanas, it's hunting, and not much eventing, but and then I started watching somebody called Alison Mills, who lived very close to me, riding in her arena, and I thought, well, that looks interesting. So I used to ride my little hunting mare in her arena and try and copy what Alison was doing, which was quite difficult with the hunting horse. And so that got me all curious, and I started competing on an event horse I had, as a novice and low levels.
What about you, Anne? What's your equestrian background?
My own none until my children wanted to ride, so then I became a pony club mum. And really, everything I know about horses I've learned in the last 20 years. They went through pony club, and the younger daughter evented. We bred a couple, one was an event horse, one was a dressage mare, and the interest in all of it came from that.
And Roly, do you remember Valegro's first show?
I remember seeing him at the agricultural centre. Yes, and it was either Carl or Charlotte, sorry, I can't remember which, who was riding him. I remember that, yes, as a 5-year-old.
And how did he behave?
I mean, he just looked amazing, even then, yeah, there's no question.
And Anne, was there a particular love of dressage that brought you into this involvement?
No, if I'm to be perfectly honest, eventing is where my heart lays because it's a bit more exciting. And it's only really because we had two horses. One was an event horse, the other was really a dressage horse. And my daughter took her through dressage up to medium from homebred, so that was great. And it was always drummed into her as a youngster that dressage is where it all starts. Show jumping is just dressage with jumps thrown in the middle. And so she always took it very seriously and started to like it.
Going back to Valegro, Roly, what's been the pinnacle of his career?
I think probably London Olympics was the pinnacle for me. Of course we had high hopes that he would do very, very well, but he was still a young horse to be competing at that level, and so it was certainly not a certainty that he would win. So I think for me that was the most exciting time.
And the highlight of Valegro's career during your involvement?
During my involvement would have to be Rio, because that was the biggest thing that's happened to us.
Was it a very nerve-wracking experience being out in Rio as an owner?
No, not being an owner of Valegro, because you knew his capabilities, and it was just a question of whether on the day he would still continue to triumph over the German horses. And it was close. They're getting closer.
And in terms of the decision to retire him, was there much involvement from you as owners?
Not a huge amount, no. I think Charlotte and Carl feel that it's the best thing is for him to finish at the top of his career, rather than watch him perhaps get beaten by other horses as he gets older and the younger horses are coming up. But I remain a bit open about the decision, really.
But during the journey, I mean, have you been involved, on a day-to-day basis in decisions as to where to send Valegro to compete, such like?
No, because Carl really makes those decisions, and then his, the yard will let us know where he's going to go. I wouldn't make those decisions because Carl knows the horse best.
Do you both go down to see him on a weekly basis, monthly, or do you just follow him in competitions?
Well, we go to as many competitions as we can, and yes, we have yard visits now and again. If the competitions are far apart, we'll go and see him because we miss him. Try not to interfere too much.
Have either of you ridden?
Wouldn't dare.
Do you think you'd be allowed to ride him now he's retiring?
We could always ask the question.
Maybe.
So now we've come to this retirement. I mean, it's sort of obviously dawning on you. Has this inspired you to buy another horse, to find another Valegro? How are you feeling about the situation?
Well, I feel that he's going to be very hard to follow. But Anne and I are full of great hope. We've got a young one that we share with Carl, another young horse, and we hope that that's going to be good. I have shared another horse with about four of us altogether. Of course, we're hoping that the sort of stamp that Valegro's left behind will continue, and the British will have some really good horses.
And how would you sell owning a dressage horse to people?
I think the pride that you have in competing for your country, and I think the fun, because there is a lot of fun. Carl makes it a lot of fun wherever we go, and so you're sure to have a happy time, whatever happens.
And your experience as an owner, how was that?
Way beyond what I expected when I joined in. I've had so much fun in the last couple of years on this. I did not expect it to be this good.
Could you sort of impart any funny or interesting anecdotes of your involvement with Valegro along the way?
Why don't you go first?
We don't really get too much day-to-day stuff, do we?
What about in Las Vegas when they announced on the plane?
Yes, one of probably the most unexpected and exciting moments was when several of us had gathered in the lounge waiting to board our flight, and I personally, Carl had already flown home, and I got onto the flight, and I think all the others had flown off to Geneva or somewhere you were going, and I just sat down in my seat, and suddenly they said, "Congratulations to Roly Luard for winning the World Cup," which was A, quite embarrassing, but B, very nice to hear.
And you've obviously had a great time with dressage. Would you ever consider ownership of a racehorse or an eventer, or would it only be dressage?
Well, I do have small interest in racehorses from time to time, so that is something I consider. I'm not sure about anything else.
How does it compare, owning a racehorse to owning a dressage horse?
I think it's more of a commitment owning a racehorse in a way, because they're out, you don't have any notice until the day before, really, that the horse is actually racing, and B, they're out, obviously there's a season, but they're out quite often, and sometimes those commitments are quite hard to keep. At least with our calendar, we know very well in advance when the shows are likely to be, so we can put them in our diaries.
And as an owner, your favourite event, Anne?
Ooh. I think for the razzmatazz it had to have been Las Vegas, the World Cup, just for the razzmatazz. It's a different world. The Americans are a different audience to what we have in Europe.
In what respect?
They're much more proactive, they get involved, they clap in the middle of the tests, and it's all a bit, really? So just, yeah.
What about you?
Yes, I'd say the same. I mean, I think the World Cup is slightly lower key than when you're competing against the Europeans or even the World Games. And it's always exotic places, and it's music, so the whole thing is very lovely to be there.
And Roly, what do you do in real life?
In real life, well, I love doing houses up, old houses, and trying to make them nicer than they were when I started, before I started. But you know, that's like a 5-year project. It suits me very well.
I have a small farm that has horses that we've bred some, and I have my yard manager also has a couple there. That keeps me quiet usually.
Finally, we're just about to witness the time is probably the most extraordinary horse we will ever see in our lifetime. Any party words from you as to how you feel about this situation?
Well, obviously it's tinged with a lot of sadness, but obviously great pride in being involved with such an amazing horse that will be with us, all of us, forever.
And Anne, how would you sum Valegro up?
Ooh, he's just such a lovely boy. He's just gentle. He's got a wonderful personality, and I think it was Judy Harvey described him as a ball of elastic a couple of years ago when he was out there, and he's just like that. He's just bouncing.
Alan refers to him as he's always happy-go-lucky, and he does look that way, doesn't
Yes.
he? He's always got his ears
Happy
pricked.
boy. Yeah.
He has never had any attitude. He never says no to anything. He's just always, I always say, he seems like he's on your side all the time.
And is he a sweetheart in the stable?
Yes, he is. He loves his sugar lumps. As long as he's got
And
sugar
carrots.
lumps, he's very happy.
Are you allowed to give those to him?
Yes, definitely.
With permission.
Yes.
Fantastic, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Actually, finally.